Hello. So I am getting ready to go to the Renaissance Fair, and I've gone twice before and had an amazing time. If I get a Scotch egg and see some sort of tournament, I will be happy. And a big part of the Ren Fair for me is dressing up and making a costume. I would say at the Oregon Renaissance Fair, probably about 70% of the people end up dressing up in some sort of costume or themed apparel. And I am no exception to that. I will definitely be dressing up. This time I think I want to go with something a little bit more like pink, a little lacy, something a little prettier than I have in the past. Not saying last year's was not pretty. In an effort to save time, I really want to use pieces that I already have. So I'm going to be using the white shirt that I made last year, and I'm going to be using my patchwork skirt that I made a few months ago. While I was scrolling the internet on different accessories and things that I can add to this costume, I stumbled across a couple videos and tutorials on how to make straw witch hats, which I just think would go really well with like the patchwork floral vibe that I have in the skirt. So I went on a hunt to find 2 straw hats. I wanted them to be relatively cheap because I wouldn't be wearing this very frequently, and I was going to be taking one of them apart. I went to so many stores in my area trying to find just like a generic straw hat. I went to Joannes when it was open. I went to Michael's. I went to all of these different places and I could not find anything. It was suggested to me then that I sent out a text to my family just seeing if anybody had some straw hats laying around. So when I sent a text to my grandma, I really should be surprised when she said, "Of course I have straw hats. In fact, I have 7. What do you want? They come in different sizes." So I have an assortment of straw hats that are exactly what I was looking for. She had found these years ago and they were living in one of her side rooms. And so I have hats with a smaller brim and hats with a larger brim. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off some of these fake flowers and start disassembling one of these hats to harvest the straw.
Unraveling this hat was actually way easier than anticipated. With a seam ripper, I was able to break the stitches, and then I was able to just pull out the chain stitch that held it all together. I think in total it took me less than 5 minutes, and most of it was just tedious work of pulling out all of the stitches. I'm not in my normal sewing space, so I'm a little bit out of it because I don't know where everything is right now. So last night I went through and I already deconstructed one of the hats and got all of this straw, and now it's time to actually put it onto one of the other hats and give it that pointed witchy hat look. I've decided to use the smaller brim for the hat just because I think it'll be a good size for the Ren Faire, but that means I also have to deconstruct the beautiful ribbon and flower artwork done on this hat. Okay, so I got it all off. There's a little bit of pink staining if you look really closely, but that should be covered up either by braided straw or by the flowers, so I'm not worried about it. Next, I need to form the point, which this already has a pretty steep incline, so just going up here should be enough for my hat. To do this, I'm just gonna use this piece of poster board that I have that is a little bit used. What I need to do is to cut out a wide triangle to fit around the curve of the hat. So maybe I made it a little pointy. The fact why is it so tall? Okay, we're taking that apart. Luckily it's hot glue, so we can just take that apart. That was not correct. Okay, I tried again and that looks better. I think I'm gonna try and shorten it just a little bit because I do have some extra room on here. So I'm gonna shorten it about that much and then see how we are there. We are faking it till we make it, baby. It's not the prettiest underlayer, but that's okay. It's going to be covered up with straw, and this is a much better height than what my other attempts were. I had to patchwork piece a lot of the cardstock together because I just really had no idea what I was doing originally, but I think that this is a good height. It is very squat, if anything, for a little hat with a very short brim. I think that was honestly the hardest part because this is going to be the shaping and our guideline for the hat. So now I just need to put the actual braiding all the way around. Then we can get to decorating. Not only did this hat take me longer than anticipated, but I had a lot of trouble with this hot glue gun. I ended up doing this outside on like an 85-degree day, and it just was so hot that it took forever for the glue to cool down enough to stick. You can see me in the video kind of holding it for long periods of time just because the straw would not stick to the hat. Eventually, I had to move inside where it was cooler and the glue would stick. It is a few days later and the straw witch's hat is all done. At least the bases. There's a few more things that I have to do in order to get this ready, but I'm really happy with the shape and the proportions. I think it looks like a really nice, cute witch's hat. I have kind of a big head, so I'm definitely gonna need to have some like ties going around my neck in order for it to stay on my head. Right now it's really wedged on there with the hat, so I need to be able to keep it on my head without having a baseball cap underneath. Before I really start with the decorating aspect of this, there is a lot of hot glue that is leaking out between the straw, and there are plenty of little strings all over this that I need to clean up. In the past, I've done this with a hairdryer, just giving it a really close kind of dusting with some of the hot air, making all of the like cobwebby bits really shrink. But I'm currently not in my regular space, and I do not have a hairdryer available to me. But my mother is a crafty queen and has a heat gun. So I'm going to use the heat gun to try my best and get rid of some of this excess glue that is all over this hat. I would really like for a lot of the glue to come off of this, and then afterwards I can start decorating with the lace and some of the fake florals that I got. Okay, I'm gonna give that a few more minutes to dry. It kind of turned a lot of the hot glue almost like a purple translucent color. You can't see it too much on camera, which I think is a good sign. I'm hoping when it dries, it'll come down a little less purple and a little more translucent. I grew up in a very crafty household, so when I went up to my mom and asked for lace, it was no surprise to me that she already had this 2-inch 100% cotton lace from an old project she did back in the 90s. So I was really thankful to be able to use this. It was curved, so I had to tack it down a little bit, but I think it looks really, really nice under all of the flowers and foliage that I added in the project. I tried to do a nice mix of the green vines with the different types of lavender sprigs, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I did burn my fingers quite a lot in the process of this, as I had to go in and tuck each little lavender piece in with hot glue, but it turned out really, really nice. Overall, though, it is a very dense hat. It is heavy. There is a lot of material on this, but it turned out so nice. I used the heat gun again to just get rid of any strings, and I was able to glue on some lace as my little head straps, tapping it down with scissors just so I didn't keep burning my fingertips.
"'Twas the night before the Ren Faire, and all through the land, not a single thing was done." I'm kidding. The straw hat is done, and that is set aside and ready to wear for the Ren Faire. But I'm not done with the corset. In fact, I've kind of barely started it. It is exactly 10 p.m. I'm supposed to meet my friends for the Ren Faire at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. I was able to make a mock-up a few days ago of my corset out of this old pillowcase. In the interest of saving time, this is now going to be the lining. Luckily, the pattern only required a few simple modifications in terms of like the bust seam here. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave the pattern as it is and then make these same adjustments on the final product. Through caffeine and will, anything is possible, and I currently have a Diet Coke on standby at 10 p.m., so I think we can do this.
In my patchwork skirt, there's actually a square made out of this fabric, and I thought it was just a cute way to tie the corset in with my skirt, making it all look like a very cohesive outfit.
It is 11:45 now. I have my main fabric all sewn together and I have my lining all interfaced. This was already sewn together, so interfacing it was a little tricky. I ended up just like securing it to the pieces over the seams, and so far I think it'll be fine. I don't need to tack it down too much because this is just the lining and it'll all be enclosed. I'm going to put these two pieces together and figure out what I'm doing for boning.
I'm using cheap plastic boning for this project, and one thing you have to do is to actually iron it flat because it comes in this big roll, and overall it burnt my fingertips so much, but it does work for a really quick and easy corset, something like this that I'm only going to wear once a year. From my last corset, I knew that I didn't want to have too much boning in the back as that really stabbed me. So having these two V's was really helpful in keeping that support, but making it so it didn't stab me in the back of the neck or in the small of my back while I was sitting.
I've realized that it's been a while since I've given a check-in. It is currently 2:30 in the morning. I have most of this done. I'm currently putting in the eyelets. When I'm done with the eyelets, I need to finish off the bias binding. I have it partially sewn. It just needs to be folded and sewn again. I'm gonna finish it. Like, it's gonna happen. It's not my cleanest piece of work. There's some lumps and bumps in there, but it should fit. I made a little placket to go on the inside of the corset, but it's too short, so I think it looks kind of weird. I need to double check this when this is all done, if I can even use the placket. I'm disappointed in because I spent a lot of time making it. Well, realistically, it was probably like 20 minutes, but that's 20 minutes of sleep I could have gotten. I'm gonna finish up doing these eyelets real quick and then take a shower, get ready for bed, and then do the bias binding after while my hair dries, because I still have to do that in order to get ready for tomorrow. Yeah, we're gonna be running on probably like 2 hours of sleep, 2 to 3 hours. I don't really need to head out until 8:30, which is 6 hours away. Yeah, I feel like two hours is gonna be pretty accurate there. It works. I finished the corset and I'm going to go to bed. It is 4:04 in the morning and I am very tired. I'm gonna go get about 4 hours of sleep, and then you are going to see the reveal next for everything that I put together. Considering this started off as an idea just to make an outfit around my patchwork skirt, I think this was a raging success. I absolutely adore this hat that I made. I 100% will be wearing it to future Ren Fairs. I can definitely imagine myself keeping this up like at the top of a bookshelf as a decoration year round. And I just think that this is something that I'm going to be bringing out in the fall a lot too, as I kind of incorporate this into autumn. This was a fantastic piece to make for the Ren Faire. It also was very practical because it kept so much of the sun out of my eyes. It was a very sunny 70-degree day, so especially while I was like watching the joust in the arena, having this forward to cover up the sun, very, very helpful. I was looking back on some of the videos and I had pushed it so far forward at one point that from the back it just kind of looked like it was perched on my head. I prefer it back a little bit, but it served its purpose as a sun hat as well as being cute. And considering I made this corset within 4.5 hours the night before the fair, I got a lot of compliments on my outfit, and I think that this is a very well-made corset considering I was very much on a time crunch. I didn't talk too much about what pattern I was using for this. In years past, I have made my own pattern and drafted it myself, but I wasn't a huge fan of this pattern, so I'm not really going to talk about it too much. In terms of modifications I would have made though, I would have liked to bring down the bust a little more. I feel like it's very high up. And I would have maybe shortened the sides because it sits right on my waist, which is good, but then it goes up into my armpits a little bit. I feel like having more arm room would have been just a little more comfortable. The rest of the outfit though was this white blouse that I made last year to go with my Ren Faire outfit, and then this patchwork skirt which I made earlier. There is a video for that. And I think I just look like the cutest little garden witch, and I felt very, very happy wearing this to the Ren Faire. Overall, it was a very successful day. I got my Scotch egg, I got an elephant ear, I saw a joust, I saw a contortionist, and I got to see all of the amazing outfits that everyone was in. One of the best parts of the day was my friend was getting her face painted, and me and my other friend were just sitting watching the crowds as they went past, and we ended up counting how many Lord Farquaad costumes we found. We ended up losing track around somewhere between 15 and 17. There were so many amazing costumes and so many different cosplays and original characters. It was the best time. I geek out so much about costumes, especially when people make them. Thank you so much for watching. I love making videos about sewing, knitting, and quilting. I make videos about every other Tuesday, and I have lots of fun filming and showing you exactly what I've been up to. Thank you so much. Feel free to like or share this video, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye. I just need it to stay on my head. Yeah, it's hot. Just have hot glue strings everywhere. I'm ready for these to go away. And from a